Good evening. If everyone could please at this time turn off or silence your cell phones, we would greatly appreciate that. Welcome. On behalf of the Door County League of Women Voters, we thank you for taking the time to come and hear the candidates seeking to become Door County Sheriff. My name is Tammy Grossman. I am the chair of the League of Women Voters of Door County and tonight's moderator. Let me start first by introducing the candidates in alphabetical order. They are Curt Vandertie, Randy Wagner, Carl Waterstreet, Tammy Weckler-Sternard. The League thanks all of the candidates for agreeing to participate in this forum. In a few minutes, they will introduce themselves. We also want to thank the Sturgeon Bay School District and especially tech specialist Spencer Gustafson for their assistance in hosting tonight's event. Tonight's event is being live streamed and recorded and will be available as soon as possible on the League of Women Voters Door County website at lwvdoorcounty.org and on the Sturgeon Bay School District webpage. We encourage the candidates and the public to spread the word and encourage others to view the forum. The League's forums are not an endorsement of any candidate. The views expressed are solely those of the candidates and not the League of Women Voters of Door County. At this time, I would like to read our land acknowledgement statement. Door County, along with the lands our facilities and parks are located on, is the ancestral home of the Menominee Nation. Currently, there are 11 federally recognized Native American sovereign nations in Wisconsin. We acknowledge these indigenous communities who have stewarded this land throughout the generations and pay respect to their elders past and present. Now, a quick word about why this forum is being held in July. When the League receives a request to conduct a forum before a primary election, it is our practice to invite all eligible candidates running for the office. The August 11th Republican primary will then move either candidate Vandertie or Waterstreet on to the November 3rd ballot. Neither the independent challenger Wagner nor the Democratic candidate Sternard has a primary challenger, so both will automatically move on to the November 3rd ballot. Candidate forums are one part of the Door County's League's mission to inform voters about candidates in elections in a civil, unbiased, and nonpartisan manner. The League of Women Voters is nonpartisan and never supports or opposes any political party or candidate. However, we are also a political organization dedicated to encouraging and promoting good government through informed, active participation at all levels of our democracy, local, state, and national. More information about the League can be found on the display table outside the auditorium or by visiting our website at lwvdoorcounty.org. Forums consist of your anonymous written questions and candidates' responses. On these question cards, we encourage you to ask questions about topics of concerns. Questions must be relevant to the position of Door County Sheriff and be addressed to all candidates. A question posed to or about only one candidate will not be used. Please use a separate card for each question you ask. Questions must be unbiased and concise. Our question screeners will select questions covering a variety of issues. As you finish writing your question, raise your card. Runners will pick them up and bring them to the screeners. League screeners will review questions to eliminate redundancies and unusable questions. If the screeners do not understand the question, it will not be asked. If used, questions will be asked as they are written. Candidates, a copy of all submitted questions will be sent to you after the forum so you can see the range of issues raised. Finally, the League of Women Voters of Door County prides itself on organizing and moderating forums that are fair and nonpartisan. We expect and have never been disappointed that candidates and the public will conduct themselves in a civil manner. We know that code of conduct will be upheld here tonight. We will now officially begin the forum. No flash cameras, video cameras, or other visual or sound recording devices are allowed to be used during the forum except by the press, media, and forum sponsor. We ask that any personal pictures be taken after the forum concludes. A reminder to the candidates, you may not use any audio or visual from the forum in or for personal or commercial advertising or promotion of your candidacy. You may post the league's recording of the forum in its entirety and urge others to view it. Because this is a forum and not a debate, candidates may only speak about and for themselves, their positions and ideas, but not reference each other. Audience, we ask that you not respond to any candidate's answers. Because league forums are not campaign events, there should be no comments, cheering, jeering, clapping, or any other form of demonstration. The candidates have agreed to the following guidelines. Each will introduce themselves in 2-minute opening statements. Each candidate will then have up to 2 minutes to answer each question. Each question will be posed to all candidates. A candidate may decline to answer any question. Each candidate will then have up to 2 minutes for a closing statement. The first speaker was determined by lot. The order of speaking will then be alternated. Candidates, please note the timekeepers. They will signal when you have 30 seconds remaining in your response, and again when it is time to stop. We ask that you conclude your thought and stop when signaled. We will ask questions until approximately 8:15 or until we run out of questions. Candidates will then make their closing remarks. We'll now hear the opening statements from the candidates, beginning with candidate Vandertie.
Hello everyone. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event tonight, and thank you for all of you for attending. My name is Curt Vandertie, and I am 51 years old. I was born and raised in Door County. I grew up on a dairy farm in Southern Door, specifically Brussels. I've been married to my wife, Sarah, for 27 years. We have 2 children. My son will be starting his first year in college, and my daughter's a sophomore in high school. I get the question often of, why do you want to be sheriff? And it makes me think of a favorite quote of mine. Great leaders don't set out to be a leader, they set out to make a difference. And that is truly my goal and my mission, to run as sheriff, to make a difference for our community and for our employees. Public safety has been my passion. For 29 years, I've served this community as a firefighter, 26 years as an EMT, 17 years in law enforcement, and 18 years as a fire chief here in Door County. Prior to working full-time in law enforcement, I worked 14 years in the private sector. I worked in the healthcare network business where I held multiple leadership roles. I was a director, a regional vice president for business development, and a vice president for client services. Those positions, I had the opportunity to lead all areas of lead all the opportunities or areas of running an organization, from hiring employees to mentoring and training to budget planning to strategic and long-range planning, as well as managing all personnel matters. I believe that those leadership skills and experience, coupled with a lifetime commitment of serving our community in fire, EMS, and law enforcement, makes me a very unique and well-rounded candidate, and it prepares me to lead the sheriff's office. I appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to that.
Candidate Wagner.
Good evening, and thanks to the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's forum. I also want to thank everyone for being here and taking the time to listen. My name is Randy Wagner, and I'm a candidate for sheriff. To be honest with you, I'm a little nervous. I'm not a polished politician. You won't hear a community you're going to hear a community member, a husband, a father, and someone who has spent nearly 27 years in law enforcement. My career started in Colorado, where I worked patrol, street crimes units, investigations, and undercover narcotics units. I've seen people on their worst days, and I've worked along some of the best professionals in law enforcement. One thing I've learned is that leadership isn't about authority. It's about responsibility, judgment, and integrity when no one is watching. My wife and I chose Door County as our home because we wanted to be part of a community like this. We fell in love with the people, the values, and the neighbors, how neighbors look out for each other. That is something that we believe is worth protecting. I came out of retirement for one reason. I believe Door County Sheriff's Office needs experienced leadership and a clear direction for the future. Our deputies are working hard every day, and they deserve support, training, and leadership that they can rely on. And this community deserves a sheriff who listens, who never forgets who they serve. If I'm elected, I will focus on strengthening staffing, improving training, building partnerships across the county, and earning your trust every day through transparency, accountability, and service. At the end of the day, leadership is not about titles or politics. It's about showing up, doing the right thing, even when it's hard, and remembering that the badge represents the people, not the person that's wearing it. I look forward to any questions. Thank you for being here.
So as moderator, I already screwed up the order, but we're going to go back. So I should have gone to you, candidate Waterstreet. I apologize. You're up next.
It's all good. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for attending tonight. I really appreciate everybody being here. My name is Carl Waterstreet, and I'm asking for your trust and your vote for me to serve as your next Door County Sheriff. For nearly 3 decades, I've dedicated my career to public service. I have served as a police officer, a supervisor, Wisconsin Department of Justice special agent, a criminal investigator, and for the past 5 years as captain with the Door County Sheriff's Office. Those experiences have prepared me to lead on day one. This election isn't simply about experience, it's about the future of our Sheriff's Office. My vision is straightforward. It's to provide exceptional public safety while being responsible stewards of your taxpayer dollars. Through my Project 100 initiative, I have committed to identify $100,000 in savings during my first term by improving efficiency, reducing unnecessary overtime, strengthening collaboration with neighboring counties, and making better use of the resources we already have. I also believe that taking care of our community begins with taking care of the men and women who serve it. This means improving scheduling for our patrol deputies and staff, reducing burnout, supporting employee wellness through programs like a Sheriff's Chaplain program and a critical incident response team, and ensuring our employees have the tools they need to succeed. I believe leadership is about integrity, accountability, and service. It means listening, making difficult decisions, and always putting the people of Door County first. It would be the greatest honor of my career to serve the community that I love and has been home as your sheriff. Thank you, and I look forward to answering your questions tonight.
Candidate Sternard.
Good evening, everybody. Again, thanks, League of Women Voters and all of you for attending, and actually the candidates here too. It's not easy running for office. I've done it a few times, so I know. For me, really my goal is to share with you what we're doing, some of the things we face right now at the Sheriff's Office, and how we can continue to serve our community. I have probably served the Sheriff's Office for 33 years, the last 7.5 as your sheriff. I'm very fortunate. I have one of the best families, supportive. They end up sacrificing a lot so I can do what I love. Door County for me has always been home. I graduated at Southern Door. I went on later to earn my degree in criminal justice at NVTC. I began in 1993 as a reserve deputy, and I advanced through the different positions, and I spent the majority of my career in some supervisory capacity within the office. In the last, since 2007, I've served on the administrative team. I've served for 3 different sheriffs, and each of them taught me that every leader has a different vision, and that's okay. When I became sheriff, I did work with the employees to find out what should our mission be. They all actively participated, if they wanted to, and what should be our guiding principles. And we haven't really changed from that. Sometimes do we lose our way? Absolutely, but that's a shared responsibility. For me, I wanted to make sure that my department was ran and my leadership and expertise was used to its best. We've done a lot of great things I'm proud of. We added school resource officers, we've added a mental health community engagement deputy, employee wellness, we enhanced patrol, we enhanced our K-9, we have an adult and juvenile deflection program. So I have an amazing team, right? Whether they always agree with me or not, I wish I had enough time.
Okay, we'll go on to the first question, and we'll start with candidate Waterstreet. What specific experience in law enforcement, management, or public administration do you believe qualifies you to lead this office? And what would be your top 3 priorities in your first year if elected? And what do you see as the most important skill set for running a modern sheriff's office?
That's a loaded question, so. Wow.
It is a lot.
First
You
one-
want me to ask you
Yeah, can we
again?
break it down in bullet points?
Sure.
No, I think I got it. So, so starting off, so I started my career in 2000, actually 1998, fresh out of high school. I started as a reserve deputy with the sheriff's office here. Chief Deputy Buys gave me a blessing to start in as a reserve right out of high school as I was attending tech school. I then advanced to the Wisconsin Department of Justice, Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources as a park ranger at Whitefish Dunes, and then advanced to the Sturgeon Bay Police Department. With my time at the Sturgeon Bay Police Department, I became an instructor in Unified Tactics. I led our Field Training Officer program, and I also led our Community Service Officer program. I was also part of working with the Port Security Grants, where I secured probably close to $200,000 worth of grants over the 5 years that I did that. With that time, I then became a sergeant, where I was in charge of the Internet Crimes Against Children. We had a task force that was formed between us and the Door County Sheriff's Office, and I took over that program. That became my passion. I then went to the Wisconsin Department of Justice as a special agent, where I became a special agent senior, leading operations and different organizations. There's chiefs of police and sheriffs across the state that depended on our expertise and our ability to lead them through some of the darkest times that they've had. I was then blessed because running across the state isn't really conducive to having a happy family. Sheriff Sternard gave me the opportunity to come as a captain here at the Door County Sheriff's Office. That has given me the administrative experience to be able to lead a complete organization. So if you couple what I've done at the City Police, what I've done with the Department of Justice, and what I've done with the Sheriff's Office as a captain, my experience then gives me the opportunity to lead the Sheriff's Office. On top of that, I have a master's degree in criminal justice administration with a specialization in fiscal responsibility, a bachelor's degree, and then an associate degree also. Thank you.
Okay, candidate Sternard, what specific experience in law enforcement, management, or public administration do you believe qualifies you to lead this office? And what would be your top 3 priorities in your first year if elected? And what do you see as the most important skill set for running a modern sheriff's office?
So for me, obviously, we talked about it a little bit before. I went through the ranks. I did my time as a sergeant. I worked a shift that wasn't necessarily the greatest, so I could learn to be a good leader. I then moved on to lieutenant. By Lieutenant Farley at that time, when we built the jail, him, myself, and another deputy, we worked together and had a multi-million-dollar project, which was the Justice Center. So it really came down to the 3 of us making decisions. I think that's something unique that I have that others don't, is projects that run in the county, they're big, and they are specific to county government, and that's where I think I differ from the candidates. Leadership means something different, I think, to everybody, but my experience, my proven record, I've maintained our budget. I think other than the COVID year when we might have went over because we had to make some changes. And again, I feel bringing people together, as Captain Waterstreet said, he applied, I looked at his resume, is he a strong guy? Absolutely. That's why I wanted to add him to the team, and I appreciate everything he brings. We work together closely every day. So yes, I rely on other people's expertise. I've never pretended to know something I don't. If I don't, I'll ask. I'll make sure that I have the right people surrounding me to make the best decision for the county.
Candidate Wagner, what specific experience in law enforcement, management, or public administration do you believe qualifies you to lead this office? And what would be your top 3 priorities in your first year if elected? And what do you see as the most important skill set for running a modern sheriff's office?
That is a huge question, a lot of parts. So I worked for an agency that had roughly 1,400 police officers, not just civilian employees. I was responsible as a senior officer to supervise one shift, which that one shift of officers was larger than the total number of deputies that Door County has. So I've supervised large groups. I was responsible for maintaining some budgets. I was responsible for maintaining discipline and attaboys. Those are kind of my three things. For the three things that I want to work on for my first year on is for training. But there's a lot in that question. I think that making sure that the support is there for the deputies, and I'd like to see a wellness program established. One of the things that we struggle with in law enforcement currently is maintaining, hiring, and keeping those officers interested in staying at our agencies. So I would like to work on some rotating training for these officers, for detectives, or having some type of role for them, whatever. So those are my three.
Candidate Vandertie, what specific experience in law enforcement, management, or public administration do you believe qualifies you to lead this office? And what would be your top 3 priorities in your first year if elected? And what do you see as the most important skill set for running a modern sheriff's office?
So I started with the sheriff's office also in the reserve program. I worked several years in the jail division. I was an officer in charge and also a correctional training officer while I worked there. I moved over to the patrol division, and there I also was an officer in charge as well as a field training officer. I've been involved in many different opportunities within the sheriff's office. I'm a crisis negotiator. I helped develop a new MERT program, which stands for Missing Endangered Response Team. I was a co-coordinator of that, helping develop all of the policies and procedures and operational guidelines in order for us to implement that team. When it comes to leadership and public administration, I know it's not in law enforcement, but the concepts are the same. As fire chief leading a public safety agency and working with municipalities throughout the county, those responsibilities are similar when it comes to managing budgets, putting together training programs, and community engagement with the people that we serve. When it comes to top priorities, I believe communication is probably the top priority for me to improve. Also being community engaged. Connecting with the community so that they know what the sheriff's office is doing, so that they understand why we're doing what we're doing, and so that we continue to build those relationships, whether it's through community organizations, business partners within our schools, and those that count on us to serve their community. I'm also an instructor for professional communication skills for our agency, and ultimately what I believe we need is genuine leadership. Leadership that stands up for our employees. When our employees are supported, valued, and appreciated, they perform at their very best. And when they perform at their very best, the community wins as well. The community also receives their very best. And so one of my top priorities is strengthening communication and leadership within our agency.
Okay, we'll move on to the next question, and we'll start with candidate Sternard. What specific steps would you take in your first 6 months in office? A little shorter question this time.
Appreciate that. Obviously, I'm currently the sheriff, so if I would be honored to move into that last term for me, my focus is really going to be making sure that next set of leaders in our agency have the tools and the skills that they need. We're losing a lot of our deputies and leaders that have an amount of experience that nobody can replace. So for me, it's really important, like I said, to work with our current leaders. We're going to have a lieutenant leaving with almost 30 years. We're going to have a patrol sergeant with nearly 25, I think. We have 2 brand new jail sergeants if we can hire them. We have a brand new jail lieutenant. So yes, supporting the employees is very important, and I guess I do challenge people to think about what we do in our community and what you see. Do you see our officers communicating? Do you see our officers working with people? Do you see me at events? I'm involved in so many things, and do I talk about them all the time? No. Anybody that knows me knows I like to get the job done. I don't need to be up in the front in the picture all the time. So our department functions the way it does because of the men and women, and I understand that. And to say I don't appreciate them, I think is a very unfair and untrue statement.
Candidate Wagner, same question. What specific steps would you take in your first 6 months in office?
So one of my first steps would be to meet the community and engage. I would really like to engage with as many people, introduce myself, evaluate what's going on in the community, what are the concerns, what are the comments that I need to hear. The next thing is to evaluate what our strengths are and to strengthen any areas we may be lacking in, and then data. I'm pretty data driven, so I'm going to look at every bit of data that I can find. Where do we have the most problems with traffic? Where do we have the most crime? And so everything's going to be kind of data driven for me. The last thing is for the first 6 months, I want to look at recruitment and retention of officers. I want to keep our qualified officers in Door County. I want to see how we can do that and see if there's something. The cost of living up here is tough for new hires, and just having some perk for these guys and gals to stay is important, so I'd look into that as well.
Okay, Candidate Vandertie, what specific steps would you take in your first 6 months in office?
One of the first things I would do is I would sit down with all of our employees and seek their input on what we're doing well and what we can improve on. In my years of experience in leadership, I've learned that when you seek input from employees and you get their buy-in and their ownership, they tend to perform at a higher level. And it's very important that we support our employees so that, again, we can provide the best service to our community. When it comes to community engagement under my leadership, that will become a daily culture within our organization, so that there are deputies that are engaged with our community organizations, within our schools, within our community events, as well as our local governments in our towns, our villages, and our city. When it comes to the first 6 months, one of the items that I would like to introduce is a new program called Community Connect. So much of what we do in law enforcement agency is responsive, so we're responding to calls for service. Community Connect is ultimately a proactive approach to keep residents safe through prevention, education, and real-world guidance. Our goal will be to focus on the most serious and most growing concerns that our community members are faced with. We will focus on things such as scam and fraud prevention, elder safety and abuse, online safety for our kids and our adults. Online safety applies to both. And really everyday safety awareness that provides the tools and benefits to our community to keep themselves safe, as well as their family, their property, and their homes. So it's a proactive approach. Community Connect is something we can build upon in our organization, not just in providing proactive policing, but also a way to keep our community engaged and connected with the Sheriff's Office as to what we're doing and staying involved.
Candidate Waterstreet, what specific steps would you take in your first 6 months in office?
Before we can get anywhere in providing better programming or anything in the community with our deputies or in investigations or even in the jail staff, we have to get a little bit more efficient with our scheduling. Right now, we do not have the staff to push out into the community, so we have to really take a look at what we need to do to make a little bit better approach to our scheduling. And that falls into basic leadership of police organizations 101. So that falls into making committees, groups of the deputies that come together, that provide the input. We work within the budget to make sure we can accomplish the goals that we want to accomplish, and then we set forth, as long as it's legal, moral, and ethical, and within policy, we can make the changes necessary to make our department a little bit more efficient. The other thing that we need to do is kind of reorganize a little bit where we're at as far as our staff goes. So where are we resource heavy, where are we not? So right now our investigations manages going out and giving public presentations, investigating cases, and our SROs give a lot of presentations and manage the schools. How can we support them? How can we provide the resources necessary to help them accomplish their job a little bit more effectively? And those are things that have to come together as far as the employees out there doing the job, we need to gather their input and learn exactly what they're doing. We also need to take a look at where we're at with the budget and what we can do as far as pushing the available resources to them to make their jobs more efficient. So as a leadership team, we need to take a look at what steps we can take to trim the budget, so when budget time comes around in April or May, at the end of that 6-month period, we can make appropriate decisions to maybe help them get the resources they need to be more effective in the year of 2028. Thank you.
Okay, Candidate Wagner, we'll start with you for the next question. Many people in our criminal justice system struggle with mental illness and substance use. If elected, will you make treatment and recovery support a priority? And what concrete policies or programs will your office implement to ensure people in crisis are connected to care, not just processed through the law enforcement system?
I don't remember the year I went to crisis intervention school, but it was probably in the early to mid 2000s. That school taught me how to recognize when somebody's in crisis. Spending the last 10 years working high crime areas and high impact teams with narcotics and undercover operations, I also realized about the struggles people have with narcotics. I think that keeping the deputies, keeping everybody up on training for crisis intervention is paramount for them to recognize when there's a problem. And as far as I know Door County has some programs right now. I think, I don't recall what it's called right off the top of my head right now, but I think that program has been successful to a point. One of the comments I read was that this program saved my life, and he talked about the experiences that he had, and I think that's important. I think he needed a little bit of structure in his life, and he thanked the Sheriff's Department for being part of that. As far as running programs, I think, you know, I would work closely with our county and our DA's office to continue programs and look for federal grants to see if there's something else that we can do. Those programs are expensive, so we would have to look at funding for that as well. Thanks.
Candidate Vandertie, many people in our criminal justice system struggle with mental illness and substance use. If elected, will you make treatment and recovery support a priority? And what concrete policies or programs will your office implement to ensure people in crisis are connected to care, not just processed through the law enforcement system?
So mental health remains one of our greatest challenges in law enforcement. However, it's not just a law enforcement issue, it's a community issue, and it's very important that we collaborate with all the different partners. I will definitely support treatment programs. I support the drug treatment program that is currently back up and running. When I think about mental health, however, I do believe that there's opportunities to improve. I believe that there is an opportunity to strengthen relationships and communication with our Door County Human Services. We currently have a mental health deputy, and again, I talk about the position only. The mental health deputy has been a good addition, but it's important that the community understands that the mental health deputy is not handling 90% of the calls, right? It's all of our deputies are responding to mental health crisis. So I believe that crisis intervention training needs to be enhanced. It cannot be a one and done training. We have a lot of our deputies that have gone through what's called crisis intervention training, but haven't been through training since then. I believe that we have to provide the enhanced training not just to that mental health position, but to all the deputies across our agency that is responding to those calls, including some additional de-escalation training. We have also a coordinated response specialist. I believe that position should be a bridge to support our law enforcement, but also connect those that are struggling with addictions and mental health to those agencies that can help them better. When it comes to our coordinated response specialist, I also believe it's an opportunity for that person to work with additional guidance from Door County Human Services. Right now, they are under the guidance of the Sheriff's Office. But statutorily and guideline-wise, they would have more abilities to help our community members that are struggling with mental health and with our drug and alcohol addictions if they have the direct oversight under Human Services rather than the Sheriff's Office. So I would like to see that opportunity moving forward.
Okay, candidate Waterstreet. Many people in our criminal justice system struggle with mental illness and substance use. If elected, will you make treatment and recovery support a priority? And what concrete policies or programs will your office implement to ensure people in crisis are connected to care, not just processed through the law enforcement system?
One thing we have to understand is that law enforcement are not mental health counselors, and nor will we ever be mental health counselors. Right now in society, mental health has fallen onto law enforcement so much, and quite honestly, I will sit in front of all of you and say it's not fair. We do not have the training. We do not possess the ability to be mental health counselors. We don't have the ability to do that. So we need to work close with Health and Human Services and the social workers to provide the necessary services to do that. We do have crisis intervention training that every deputy has to attend upon hire. We do enhance that every year during our in-service training. This year we did provide 4 hours of de-escalation training to every deputy in the sheriff's office that wasn't sick, that showed up to training. But every year they are required to attend a minimum of 2 hours of specialized de-escalation training. So they are getting repetitive training every year and learning how to do that is by our policy. We do have a coordinated response specialist, and we have a real hefty grant that does work with AODA individuals in our community for that. My plan is to shift that individual and make them work closer with our drug treatment court, drug treatment court, to better enhance the individuals that are there. Not everybody qualifies for drug treatment court, and the ones that are slipping by the cracks need that service and they need that help. So by our coordinated response specialist can work directly with our drug treatment program. We can help make sure that those people don't slip through the cracks, and a lot of those people do come from referrals from patrol staff. To get back on the mental health side, I have had conversations with one of our judges on starting a mental health court. I think one way we need to establish this is making sure that the people that have the mental health or mental illnesses have an established way of getting help. Right now they meet with a counselor, they're kicked out the door and sit on the street. We can't continue that down that path. And this way, by having a mental health court, they're held accountable for it. Thank you.
Candidate Sternard. Many people in our criminal justice system struggle with mental illness and substance use. If elected, will you make treatment and recovery support a priority? And what concrete policies or programs will your office implement to ensure people in crisis are connected to care, not just processed through the law enforcement system?
Sure, obviously, Curt, and again, as the sheriff, we already are doing these things. There's nothing new here. We've been doing that. I went out and I secured a grant to get our specialist that is very specific, that role. You can't just take that person and put her into a different thing unless you rewrite the grant or give the money back. It's under grant. So it's adult deflection programming. It's very unique, it's very specific, and the job for that is really to connect the people. Working in the jail for as long as I have, that was one of the missing pieces. It's right, they do their time, we push them out the door, and there's no connection. And yes, we have relationships with human services. We are part of the treatment court. I was part of the team that put it together. I have given that responsibility to somebody else because it's time for someone else to start and learn and grow in that area. So mental health is important to me. We have a mental health deputy because of staffing. Unfortunately, we can't use them for some of the things that we want. In a perfect world, yeah, I would have more people that's not in the budget to do those things. So we have to be responsible. So we use him along with the response specialist. They work together and they work on proactive things in the community. They're proactive and they do follow up. And I think if you talk to officers that actually have experienced a success, they're appreciative of it. People that don't really make referrals and are hesitant to it, they probably don't like the program. But again, we're a rural community. I was 2 years ago asked to present at a national deflection conference because of the success of our program and what we're seeing here. So I believe deeply in mental health. And I've worked in the jail where we've seen sons, fathers, grandfathers, just a cycle. And programs do make a difference. You have to apply them correctly, right? There's a time and a place for every program.
Okay, candidate Vandertie, we're going to start with you for question 4. The Sheriff's Office manages a multi-million-dollar public budget. What experience do you have developing, managing, or being accountable for a budget of that size?
So working in the private sector business, my prior career has led me to lead multi-million-dollar budgets in that process. As a fire chief, I work with 3 municipalities, certainly not in $1 million of budgets. However, the concepts are the same. It's when we talk about the 2027 budget, whoever takes over as the next sheriff, that budget's already set. The sheriff's office has an over $10 million budget today. Almost $8 million of that is fixed costs with personnel costs, so benefits, payroll. So about $2 million plus is what we're actually managing. Right now, the county has a finance director, they have an assistant finance director, we have a public safety oversight committee, we have a finance committee, and I would work with those individuals just as they do now in managing that budget. That first year, I would look at identifying efficiencies and seeking out cost savings that don't impact public safety or service. But the concepts are the same. When it comes to budgeting, I've also been successful in pursuing local, state, and federal grants through the fire service. That is an important process for me in the sheriff's office. I believe that there are dollars. We do apply for grants now, but I do believe there are other opportunities so that we can lighten the burden of taxpayer dollars. Our responsibility as a leader is to make every taxpayer dollar stretch as far as we can. And I will work with our existing team members that have that expertise. I believe the sheriff should be responsible for helping manage that budget. I don't think that that responsibility should be delegated to another individual, adding cost to our taxpayer dollars when it comes to expense. So I will be very sensitive to the taxpayer dollars in managing that and keeping a close eye and also identifying efficiencies that we can implement.
Okay, candidate Waterstreet. The sheriff's office manages a multi-million-dollar public budget. What experience do you have developing, managing, or being accountable for a budget of that size?
I don't have much experience managing a $10.1 million budget. I don't have a lot of experience managing a multi-million-dollar budget either, and I recognize that. The education that I've received and the amount of work that Sheriff Sternard has allowed us as her administrative team to work in developing the budget has given me a good idea. I've also sat down with the finance director on several occasions to learn the budget, but my whole theory behind everything, my master's degree is in criminal justice administration. I would never go to the meat market and have a butcher do surgery on me. I would go to the hospital and have a medical doctor do surgery on me. I don't specialize in this stuff, and what I mean by that is saying I would hire a financial business manager to come in and I would accomplish the restructuring plan. And I'll just yell, that's fine.
Do we need the emergency mic?
No, you're good.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to do this through my restructuring plan. I have it all included in my Project 100 plan because I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm going to take every penny of your taxpayer dollars and be able to know exactly what to do with it. I don't have the education in that, but I'm going to hire and bring in somebody that does. And that person then would be in charge of that budget all the time to make sure it's running efficiently with my oversight, along with finding grants that can supplement that budget itself. So as far as that goes, no, I don't have what it takes, but I would bring in the person that does.
Is it on? Okay, candidate Sternard. The sheriff's office manages a multi-million-dollar public budget. What experience do you have developing, managing, or being accountable for a budget of that size?
Well, I've had the budget responsibility as sheriff for 7.5 years. I worked as a jail lieutenant, and that was, again, since 2007, and the jail lieutenant was responsible to put together the jail budget, which is both a large amount of the revenue created by the department as well as the expense. And I would work with the chief deputy at the time, because it was his responsibility to basically do the data entry and work with each of us. And I've done that. So when I took over as lieutenant, or as sheriff, being a lieutenant, I knew it was important that you got your administrative team involved. Your administrators had the opportunity, they go down, they put out emails to the staff, what do you need? Tell me what you want. What would you like to see? And all of administration works together to form that budget. But realistically, it's the county administrator's budget. People like to think the sheriff can spend and do whatever they want. It just simply does not work that way. You have to justify everything you do. And I have the experience and the qualifications and a proven track record that I can do that.
Candidate Wagner, the sheriff's office manages a multi-million-dollar public budget. What experience do you have developing, managing, or being accountable for a budget of that size?
So the simple answer is zero. I have zero idea how to run a $10 million budget. I've never done it before. I'll tell you what, I'm a husband, I'm a father of 2 kids, so a household of 4, and I have run that budget. We've run that budget plenty, and so being fiscally responsible is something that we have always done, my wife and I. So, like some other people have said, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a financial director, but the county does have one. So, just like the sheriff said, the money is the county's, and we will ask for what we need. We will make it as efficient as we can, and we will be data driven. We will see what we can ask for, what we need, and we will ask for what we can get, and we will do our best with that. And we'll let the pros of the budget take care of the budget.
Okay, candidate Waterstreet, this question will start with you. Kewaunee County Sheriff Department has an agreement with ICE under its 287G program, which authorizes participating sheriff departments to have local deputies enforce certain federal immigration laws within the county jail and serve administrative warrants for undocumented individuals. Door County does not have a 287G agreement. Would you be in favor of establishing such a program in Door County? Please explain why or why not.
Not right now, because the 287G is not exactly a standard that has been vetted through the courts. So I would never put the county in a position that they could be sued. However, as I've answered the ICE question multiple times knocking doors, yes, we would work with ICE. And yes, if there is somebody that is in our community that is a child molester or a homicide suspect or something that has committed a crime, it doesn't matter on the gender or what their immigration status is, they're going to go to jail. And so if ICE does come in here and they have that desire to arrest somebody who has committed a crime, we will assist them in every way possible to make sure that criminal does get arrested and the victims are safe. That being said, if ICE does come in here and want to arrest an illegal immigrant, that there is no other criminal aspect to them, I would definitely be in favor of guiding that investigation so we don't end up in a Minneapolis type situation. We have no control over the federal government. If they want to come in and do their job, they're going to come in and do their job. We, as a sheriff's office, need to guide that investigation and make sure that they do the job the way Door County wants the job done and not the way ICE wants the job done. And that's how I would handle that situation. Thank you.
Candidate Sternard, Kewaunee County Sheriff Department has an agreement with ICE under its 287G program, which authorizes participating sheriff's departments to have local deputies enforce certain federal immigration laws within the county jail and serve administrative warrants for undocumented individuals. Door County does not have a 287G agreement. Would you be in favor of establishing such a program in Door County? Please explain why or why not.
Obviously, I'm the sheriff. I hate to keep saying that, but it's got some of these questions you kind of have to say it. So obviously, the 287G agreement I have not entered into, and I think I prefer to spend the time telling you the why. I mean, people want to make immigration a black and white issue, and any law enforcement officer, corp counsel will tell you there's so much gray. The government has not helped law enforcement fix the gray, right? That's what needs to really happen. There's civil issues with immigration that are penalties of one way. There's criminal. There's order to detains of people that are not legal based on our interpretation from our corp counsel, and that's who's going to represent our county if we are sued for holding somebody in custody. I think it is very telling. There's 72 counties in the state of Wisconsin, and the last I checked, only 19 of them out of the 72 have agreed to that agreement. And the reason for that is we all want to make sure we're doing the right thing. And to what Captain Waterstreet said, we've always helped our federal partners. As long as it's legal, I don't know why we wouldn't be doing that. I have never not done that. But again, I think we need to fix the problem as a whole. And it's not something that you can really answer in a 2-minute answer, but I can tell you why I didn't. And again, I need to protect the county first and foremost, and I get my legal guidance from corp counsel.
Candidate Wagner, Kewaunee County Sheriff's Department has an agreement with ICE under its 287G program, which authorizes participating sheriff's departments to have local deputies enforce certain federal immigration laws within the county jail and serve administrative warrants for undocumented individuals. Door County does not have a 287G agreement. Would you be in favor of establishing such a program in Door County? Please explain why or why not.
So I agree with the current sheriff about whether it's implemented or not at this time. So as sheriff, my first responsibility will always be the safety of the citizens of Door County. My deputies would be here to respond to emergencies, investigate crimes, protect victims, and enforce Wisconsin laws. Those duties must always remain our priority. I also believe law enforcement agencies should work together when it makes sense, when it's lawful, and when it supports public safety. Throughout my career, I've worked with local, state, and federal partners because crime doesn't stop at a county line. If I'm ever asked to consider a program like this, I would look at it the same way I look at other major decisions. Does it improve public safety? Do we have the resources to support it? And does it help us serve the people of Door County without taking away from our core responsibilities? These are not decisions that should be made based on politics or pressure. They should be made based on facts, responsibilities, and what's best for our community. My commitment is simple. I would listen to, I guess my commitment is simple on this. I feel like that's my answer. Thank you.
Sure. Candidate Vandertie, Kewaunee County Sheriff Department has an agreement with ICE under its 287G program, which authorizes participating sheriff's departments to have local deputies enforce certain federal immigration laws within the county jail and serve administrative warrants for undocumented individuals. Door County does not have a 287G agreement. Would you be in favor of establishing such a program in Door County? Please explain why or why not.
So I would not entertain an agreement here in Door County. I've also spoken with our legal counsel to get their perspective on any previous discussions that has been had as a county. When it comes to cooperating and communicating, we will do that with all law enforcement agencies, including federal agencies. We will not obstruct federal agencies when they come in, but Door County Sheriff's Office, we are not an immigration or deportation enforcement agency. Our focus has to be on providing local safety here in Door County, and that would be my position on this topic.
Okay, we are now starting with candidate Sternard, and this is question 6. Victim-centered crimes often require specialized training and interagency coordination. What is your vision for how the Sheriff's Office should handle these cases, and what would you prioritize to support victims and the investigators who work with them?
Right now, obviously, we're still doing it. Our county has a victim witness coordinator, and that individual, along with officers that are investigating crimes, the district attorney, we work together to help to support that. I wouldn't want to make any changes to that. Obviously, in a perfect world, if we had more money, I think there are some things that we could do to enhance. There's not a whole lot of grant money for that kind of thing as far as I'm aware of, or that we've ever been made aware of. But the victims of crime, that's one of the things I get asked a lot, and I get, why don't you put this on Facebook? Why don't you put that on Facebook? You're not sharing enough information. When I decide what I'm going to do, the victim is always first. As far as, is that someone's mom? Is that someone's sister? What happened? Is it appropriate to release? Is it public record? Absolutely. But I think sometimes as sheriff, you have to do what's right, and that isn't always easy. So when people want all the information about the victims as sheriff, you have to support them, and you have to protect as much as you can until they're ready to tell their story. And I think I have a proven record on that. I know our investigators, our deputies, I've never been made aware of someone not treating a victim with respect as they should get and deserve.
Candidate Wagner, victim-centered crimes often require specialized training and interagency coordination. What is your vision for how the sheriff's office should handle these cases, and what would you prioritize to support victims and the investigators who work with them?
I have a fairly short response to that. The victims that I worked with previously, that was all on a professional level with the district attorney's office. They had their own victims unit, so we didn't have a whole lot to do with that. I would have to look at the programs that the sheriff just talked about and get familiar with that a little bit better to answer that better.
Okay, Candidate Vandertie, victim-centered crimes often require specialized training and interagency coordination. What is your vision for how the sheriff's office should handle these cases, and what would you prioritize to support victims and the investigators who work with them?
I don't think this is anything that I would necessarily do different than what's currently in place. We do have a few different investigators that have specialty training when it comes to victims of crime, especially on the sexual assault side. I do agree that the district attorney's office has the victim witness specialist. It's been a long-term position, someone that's been very dedicated to that role and has served our county very well. I do believe that I would look at considering additional training for those investigators that maybe don't have that specialty training. And in the instances that we don't, I would rely on other agencies that do have that specialty training and those partnerships and utilizing those resources that exist.
Candidate Waterstreet, victim-centered crimes often require specialized training and interagency coordination. What is your vision for how the sheriff's office should handle these cases, and what would you prioritize to support victims and the investigators who work with them?
I don't understand the victim-centered portion of the crime, but every crime has a victim. That's what it's a crime. But so there's a lot of different approaches when it comes to different crimes that are out there, whether it's a sensitive crime or an internet crime or a elder abuse or a traffic crime or anything like that. There are victims everywhere, but so there's different avenues that need to be taken when you're looking at whatever crimes you have. And I'll give you an example of an elder abuse crime that we had last year, 2 years ago now. There's no support for the victims in financial crimes right now. The way it stands is financial crime hits, let's just say it's an elder, and they lose their entire life savings. Let's just give an example of $685,000. And let's say they're 80 years old. They have no way to bridge the gap between the arrest time and the restitution time, and sometimes that can take a year to 2 years to get through the court system, depending on how hung up the judges are and all the system is. So we needed to bridge a gap, and I've already had discussions with organizations like the United Way to try and form a victim fund that can provide a short-term loan through NGOs that can provide these victims money to survive. And we severely lack that, especially in Door County, with the ability to help, especially our elder groups, get back on their feet again in the between time of the arrest and then the restitution that they receive. And sometimes they're not going to get all the restitution back. However, in that one case that we had, I ended up working with Senator Ron Johnson's office, Senator Tammy Baldwin's office, and then in between it was Congressman Gallagher. He had just exited at the time, and they actually had a congressional review on this, and they were actually able to get Congress to provide them some reprieve with their IRS tax returns in an effort to help save some money for them. Thank you.
Okay, Candidate Wagner, we'll start with you. Law enforcement agencies across Wisconsin are facing retirements and succession planning. How would you develop and mentor the next generation of supervisors and leaders?
I think it's inevitable that agencies are losing people. They're losing qualified people. I was a street cop for a long time, and I had a group of older cops showing me the way, how to make things work on a daily basis for myself. I think the recruiting is going to be extremely difficult for us. Once again, I've said this, the cost of living up here is expensive, but I think that there's people out there that still want to be the police, and they still want to be deputies. I think we have to go out, we have to push an agenda for these folks to want to be at Door County. So as far as keeping our next generation going, we have to lead by example. We have to lead by showing them the right way, teaching them the future of law enforcement.
Candidate Vandertie, same question. Law enforcement agencies across Wisconsin are facing retirements and succession planning. How would you develop and mentor the next generation of supervisors and leaders?
So staffing in law enforcement, it's no surprise, it's a challenge everywhere in the state of Wisconsin. When it comes to staffing though, I think it's important that successful organizations realize that the #1 foundation of any successful organization is its people. And it's critically important that we understand that our employees are our #1 assets. It doesn't matter what we have for equipment or technology. If we don't have good employees, then it means nothing. It's important that we improve the culture and the work environment of the workplace, as well as the outside image of our agency so that we recruit high-quality candidates. It's important that we recruit individuals from outside of our agency that want to belong to an agency that feels valued, appreciated, and moves forward in serving our community with connections. It's very important that when we value our employees, that they perform at their very best. And when they perform at their very best, they provide that same service and that very best to our community. Right now, we're challenged in our agency where we have so many young deputies that we have people that don't apply for promotions. That's concerning. We have to figure out why is that. If we're going to grow our future leaders, we need to support them in the roles that they're in and encourage them to take additional training. Provide them resources and support when the challenges are hard. Right now our employees are taxed. They work a lot of overtime. They are burning out. We have a lot of people that are leaving due to early retirement. We've had deputies that have left for other opportunities. We have to fix the culture and the workplace environment first if we're going to build our employee base and then in turn build our future leaders in our community and in our agency.
Candidate Waterstreet. Law enforcement agencies across Wisconsin are facing retirements and succession planning. How would you develop and mentor the next generation of supervisors and leaders?
Well, I would like to join anybody that's interested in starting a correctional officer TV show, because we have so many different investigator shows. It's hard to get someone excited about corrections, and that's part of the problem that we have right now is nobody knows what corrections is all about. So it's hard to recruit on the correctional side because they're not watching NCIS on TV or Blue Bloods or any of that stuff for what happens after the bad guy gets arrested. So we need to figure out a plan that we can join in and get our correctional team a little bit more exposure to what they do every day, and they play one of the most important roles we have. By doing that, I just had a conversation just recently with the sheriff about starting like a food truck rally out in the parking lot to get more people aware of what we can do at the sheriff's office and try to recruit that way. As far as mentoring and developing, first and foremost, I'm a parent. When the candidates that's coming through the door right now are younger than my son and as old as my daughter. You have to take a parent approach sometimes with the younger generation that comes in here and mentor them in a way that you would mentor your own kids sometimes. And with that, I was a youth football coach for 7 years. 2 years I was a voluntary coach in middle school and high school right here at Sturgeon Bay. And then I was a JV coach, and then I was a high school head coach. I've mentored this young staff from middle school all the way up to high school, and I was an instructor at NWTC, so I've even taught at the college level. I understand what it takes to teach the next generation. I understand what it takes to lead the next generation and get them the training and the development that they need, because I've done it pretty much my whole life, at least since 2003. So as far as developing, recruiting, and training, that's one of the strongest areas that I think I provide.
Candidate Sternard. Law enforcement agencies across Wisconsin are facing retirements and succession planning. How would you develop and mentor the next generation of supervisors and leaders?
Well, again, just as much as what the previous people said, it's hard, it's tough to recruit people. And when we get them, once they realize working Christmas and 24/7 and working the midnight shift and missing your child's birthday, that the reality hits. And they're like, I want to do this. I can go work for Amazon with my pajama pants and make more money. That's the reality that we're dealing with. And the county is aware. I've been working with our county administrator. I think I'm being heard. I hope I'm being heard. We need to do something different. I don't control the money. Money does matter because of the cost of living in Door County. These people that we are interviewing, and Carl's part of that, you know, they're 20, 21 years old, just out of school. They still have rent. They have their school loans. There's no incentive to come here. We used to be like the premier place because we had a deputy was a deputy concept. And we did change that a bit, and we've separated a deputy from a correctional officer. And that's caused problems within the agency. A lot of finger pointing on whose fault it is. But at the end of the day, we're all one agency and we need to work together on the solution. I'm for it. I mean, the gentleman sitting to my right, he's here because I know we need to do better. His job is to try to do better.
I just would caution you not to direct your answer towards another candidate, please.
Sure. I hired a professional standards captain that had a ton of experience in different areas so that we could start addressing this problem. And again, with 72 sheriffs, we meet 4 times a year. The story is the same. But what is unique with us is we can't live here. We can't afford to live here.
Okay, now we have reached the end of the evening. This will be our last question, and we'll start with candidate Vandertie. What specific strategies would you use to strengthen community trust while maintaining accountability within the sheriff's office?
The community trust starts with being engaged. One of my main mission and my main goals for my campaign is to be community sheriff.
Yeah, get the emergency.
Tap it, he says.
Get the number 2 out. The one you have, please. Thank you.
Okay.
One of my core missions of my campaign has always been being a community sheriff and engage with the community. That's very important to me because that's one of the #1 things that I've heard as I've talked to people across Door County. It's important because people want to know who their sheriff is. They want to know that they care, that they are engaged in the community, that they show up when it matters most. That is important, and that is how you build trust in the community, by being engaged and connected. So talking to schools, community engagement, to civic organizations, community groups, showing up at city and town and village meetings so that they can know who the sheriff is. We can have an open line of communication as to what we're doing as an agency and as an organization. But most importantly, we're there to listen to their needs and listen to their concerns so that we can build that bridge. That is important. That's how you build trust, is from the ground up. You need to start talking to people. You need to be engaged. You need to be visible. You need to be approachable. You need to be there when it matters. That's how you build trust, so that when we have these critical incidents, people ask, well, what happens with these critical incidents? How are you going to handle them? This is a process that's engaging the community well before that critical incident happens, and that's why it's important to have those community connections.
Candidate Waterstreet, what specific strategies would you use to strengthen community trust while maintaining accountability within the sheriff's office?
It's a very heavy topic right now. If you know what's going on in Madison, the chief of police down there is a very strong individual and a very good chief of police, but things just erupted when one of his officers shot somebody. And that is when it doesn't matter what you do in the community or what you have in the community established already, it erodes in 30 seconds or less. And what you need to do is be a strong leader. You need to stand up and understand the facts of the case and deliver them in a confident and direct manner without releasing too much information. I have the experience that has done that. I have investigated dozens of officer-involved critical incidents. I've managed major incidents where it has brought communities to their knees as far as child abductions and missing kids, anything that would really cause community concern. I have been there, I've worked with chiefs and sheriffs. When they've been at their worst, I've had the ability to direct them in an outside fashion, saying, chief or sheriff, this is what you need to do in order to build your community back. I was at an incident where I've had bricks thrown at me trying to investigate the incident. That's how fast the community can erode. And I have the experience, I have the knowledge, and I have the ability to deliver that message and to build that confidence during the worst time Door County would ever face, if it so came our direction.
Candidate Sternard, what specific strategies would you use to strengthen community trust while maintaining accountability within the sheriff's office?
I've been connected to the community since I've been in middle school. Our family volunteers, whether it's through a religious organization, the school, we are very involved. I am very involved. If anybody has not seen an officer involved in something that we're doing in the community, I get numerous requests, and probably more, that I honor more than most sheriffs probably would, to get these individuals out there. It's important. I mean, I think, we started a Citizens Academy for that reason, to have people interact with the different officers, and they got to see kind of the day in the life of the officer. I was very proud of that program. We tried running it again, and we don't have enough people that want to go. But again, for me, it really comes down to, as an organization, everybody has to believe in community. I can't make somebody believe in community. And doing something when you're getting paid looks way different than doing something in a volunteer. I have some very good officers. They volunteer for almost every activity that we do. Almost too much, to be perfectly honest. I try to instill into the younger officers coming in, people don't just need to respect you because you wear a badge. You need to earn the respect of the community, and you do that by interacting. That's why I encourage it. That's why I end up probably doing too much, some people might say, in the community, but that's what makes those connections. At the end of the day, am I perfect as far as community engagement? Absolutely not. But many people don't realize, on an average week, I probably spend 50 hours doing sheriff stuff. Much of that is working with community partners at meetings, being on their board, speaking about the needs of law enforcement. Does the staff or the public know that? Probably not. But I can tell you, talk to the boards, talk to the nonprofits. I'm visible. I attend things.
Okay, Candidate Wagner, what specific strategies would you use to strengthen community trust while maintaining accountability within the sheriff's office?
I would work on strengthening community partnerships first. I would work on strengthening my partnerships with the deputies. I think strong leadership is important. Would increase transparency within the agency to the community. And I would ensure that every decision that I make is guided by integrity, fairness, and respect for other people. And I think that all boils down to my the main thing that I would do is just be human. I think people get a badge and they forget that they're human. And I think people don't see you sometimes as human, they see you as the cop. And I don't want to be that guy. I want everybody to know me as, hey Randy, how you doing?
Okay. Candidates, you now have up to 2 minutes each to make your closing remarks. And candidate Waterstreet, we will be starting with you.
All right. So tonight you've heard about experience, you've heard about budgets, staffing, policies, and plans, and those things matter. But when you walk into the voting booth, I hope you'll ask yourself one simple question. Who do I trust to wear the sheriff's badge? Because the badge isn't just a piece of metal. It's the first knock on a family's door when tragedy strikes. It's the calm voice in the middle of chaos. It's the hand that lifts someone up on the worst day of their life. It's a promise that no matter who you are, where you come from, or what challenges you face, someone will answer when you call for help. For nearly 3 decades, I lived that promise. Not because it was easy, not because it brought recognition, but because this community has always been worth saving. Door County isn't just where I work, it's where my wife and I have raised our family. It's where my children learned the values of serving others. It's where I've spent my career standing beside our neighbors in moments of fear, heartbreak, and hope. Though I'm asking for the opportunity to lead the Sheriff's Office with the same values that have guided me every day of my career: integrity, service, compassion, and accountability. If you entrust me with your vote, I will never forget that the Sheriff's badge doesn't belong to the person wearing it. It belongs to you, the people. I don't want to be remembered as someone who thought he was worthy to wear the Sheriff's badge. I want to be remembered as someone who is worth it. Thank you for listening tonight. I thank you for your support of our police and our Sheriff's Office, and thank you for your support of me.
Candidate Sternard.
Thanks again for having the opportunity to sit and listen. I mean, running a sheriff's office is kind of honestly a little hard to really get through all the things that are involved with that in this short meeting, but I'll be around after if you have any questions that you weren't able to get to. I'm happy to answer those. Obviously, for me as the sheriff, it's my responsibility to put a team of people together to serve you to the best of their ability every day. And I would say to yourself as a citizen, ask yourself a few questions. Take the political rhetoric and this one did this and that one did this and I did this and put that aside. But as a citizen, do you feel safe in our community? Have your interactions with the Door County Sheriff's Office been respectful and professional? Do you believe the Sheriff's Office is meeting the needs of our community? If you had concerns, did you feel comfortable bringing them to our attention so we could listen, respond, and improve? And I would stand by every man and woman that lives and breathes our department. They're here to serve you. They are our biggest asset. And I don't take that for granted. We work really hard and we always are trying to learn and grow. Do we get it right every time? Absolutely not. Do I as sheriff get it right? Absolutely not. But I try and I learn and I grow. And I surround myself with the highest quality people that I can find that are willing to serve you. And I think we do a good job. And I'm not an I person. I've always been a we person. And anybody that knows me knows that. We get way more accomplished listening to each other than we do arguing about the silly little stuff. In the big picture of things, my legacy, whether it goes another 4 years, I am very satisfied and happy with that, and I'm always willing to work hard for you guys. So if you feel it right, I would appreciate your vote. Again, it's been the greatest probably pleasure, not just being the sheriff. Actually, just being a deputy was way easier, but thank you.
Candidate Wagner.
I'd like to thank you all for being here. I'd like to thank my fellow candidates for being here and talking. Tonight you've heard about experience, you've heard about leadership, transparency, accountability, and the future of Door County Sheriff's Office. As you consider your vote, I simply ask that you look beyond names and who's familiar, and instead think about the kind of leadership you want standing behind the badge when your family calls for help at their most difficult moments. For nearly 30 years, I dedicated my life to law enforcement. I've responded to critical incidents, made difficult decisions under pressure, and learned that real leadership is not about titles or words. It's about preparation, accountability, and service to others when it matters most. My wife and I chose Door County because we believe it's a special place to raise a family. Over time, it's become more than that. It's become home. It's where we have built our life, our friendship, and our future. This is why this matters so much to me. I'm not just running for a job, I'm running for a community that I care about. I'm not a politician, I'm a husband, I'm a father. I'm a neighbor, I'm a retired police officer. I believe that experience matters, I believe leadership matters, and public safety matters. I would be deeply honored to earn your trust and your support and your vote. Thank you very much for being here.
Candidate Vandertie.
I'd like to say thank you again to my friends and family who have walked this journey with me so far. especially my wife and my kids. Without their support, this wouldn't be possible. I love them very much. Since the start of this campaign, I've remained focused on my priorities and have stayed positive throughout the process. The message has always been about community, focused on people, being a sheriff for all. Think about this for a moment. A sheriff leads the organization, sets priorities, supports employees, manages resources, and serves as the public face of the agency. Being visible and engaged with the people of Door County is the responsibility of the job. I will be a community sheriff who is present and shows up for the community when it matters most. My passion, dedication, and serving Door County for nearly 30 years in public safety through fire and EMS and 17 years in law enforcement proves that I am committed to serving and protecting everyone in this community. I promise you no one will be more dedicated, no one will work harder, and no one will care more for you and your family. The mission will be clear: to serve, protect, and continuously improve. This election is a critical and defining moment for the future of the Sheriff's Office. I'm asking for your vote on August 11th and again on November 3rd. At the end of the day, this campaign is not about me. It is about the future of the Door County Sheriff's Office and the community we love. If given the opportunity and the privilege to serve as your sheriff, I will work every day dedicating myself to protecting our residents, supporting our employees, and leaving this department stronger for the next generation. Again, I thank you for this opportunity, and I am grateful for your continued support. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. You are invited to remain for a few minutes after the forum so the public can meet and visit with you personally. Thank you, audience and viewers. We hope this forum has been helpful to you as a voter. Remember, the primary election is on Tuesday, August 11th, and the general election is on Tuesday, November 3rd. Current voter and specific election information can be found at myvote.wi.gov. There you can access information about voter registration, update your name or address, and learn about absentee voting, polling locations, and what's on your ballots. Thanks again for all of you attending and participating. Thank you also to all of our volunteers who helped make this tonight possible. And we would urge anyone that would like to join us to please consider joining the League of Women Voters of Door County. Please let others know that they can view this forum at our site at lwvdoorcounty.org or on the Sturgeon Bay School District webpage. Please join me now in a round of applause for all the candidates. Have a good night.